All right, today we're here with Cam Haynes, Speedland athlete and founder of the Keep Hammering Collective. Welcome to the podcast, Cam.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. So before we get started with the Speedland stuff, the running stuff, the mindset stuff, I want to ask you, I'm a dad. I know you're a dad. I feel like you might be pretty proud of something your son did this past weekend. Can you talk about that for a little bit? Because I was following it on Instagram and it was pretty incredible.
Yeah. He broke the world record for pull-ups in 24 hours. So the existing record was 8,008, and he did 8,100.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a lot of pull-ups.
Were you in the same room? Like, were you there the whole time as he was doing it?
Yeah, pretty much the whole time. I mean, I did go on a run one time, but
Okay,
yeah,
fair.
it was there the whole it was a long day, longer for him than me, but
Yeah.
it's pretty incredible to watch.
Is he flexing that with Goggins, telling him like showing him up?
No, I mean, Goggins has been a big inspiration. That's kind of how it got
For
started.
sure.
Goggins came out and trained with me, and we did this hardcore
Yeah.
workout. And at the end of it, Goggins, he said he finished every workout with 100 pull-ups. And so him and Truett did 100 pull-ups. This was, I think, in 2018. And that was kind of
Uh-huh.
the genesis for Truett getting going on the pull-ups. And then Goggins had the record, the old world record of 4,030. And so
Yeah.
Truett, that was his goals is, hey, I want to get this world record too. So that's what happened.
Man, I hope Goggins never comes out here and challenges me to something. I find myself doing something like that.
He might. That's what he loves stuff like that. Yeah.
I know. Oh man,
Yeah.
I saw his hand. The picture of your son's hands after that. Holy
Yeah.
cow!
I
I
know. They were a
mean,
mess. They were a mess for
that was
sure.
like a disaster. Anyways,
Yeah.
well, that was pretty cool. It was pretty awesome following that. I'm sure you were pretty proud of him as well.
I was. Yeah. He did a great job.
That's cool. All right, so you're an ultra runner. You're also an archer, an avid hunter, outdoorsman. I feel like you have like five different hobbies that you're super into.
Yeah. I
um,
mean, mostly it's bow hunting, but to bow hunt the mountains out west here, you need to be in good
mhm,
shape. And I realized that pretty early on. So I kind of being in Eugene here, it's a big running community, obviously. So I've always
yeah,
been like kind of just a regular runner. And then when I started doing ultras, I was like, whoa, this is a whole kind of cool new world. And then it's been for my first ultra was in 2005. So for the last 18
okay,
years, it's been marrying that the ultra and archery and being tough for the mountains helps both disciplines. And so that's what I've been doing.
yeah. So did you grow up in around Eugene as well?
Yeah, I was born here. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, you really that is like running ground zero
Yeah,
for the US.
definitely. Yep.
Is that
My
did you feel like growing up that was something that's kind of core to the identity of the area is running in general?
Yeah, I mean, my dad was a big track guy, and he was a great athlete, and then was a great track coach here at South Eugene High for I think about 30 years. So running has definitely been uh, just part of the world and the culture, and then my world here my whole life. I mean, in high school though, I didn't even run track. I played baseball, so it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go to Hayward when I was a little kid, go lean on the fence and watch track meets. Um, but never ran myself until I was actually out of school.
Nice. As a Baltimore Orioles fan, I gotta give a shout out to Adley Rutschman, Oregon native, who is was a standout player for us this year. So
Oh,
just want to
really?
give that.
For the
Yeah,
Orioles?
yeah. He went to Oregon State and toured up there, and then was like their first round draft pick. And so I guess it's
Yeah.
in the blood of that's also in the blood of Oregonians.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Oregon State's about 45 minutes north of here, so we're this is Oregon duck country, so that's a
Yeah,
little bit of a
right.
rival. But yeah, we're proud of anybody from Oregon making a mark, so that's cool.
Okay, cool. So then so you've been ultra running, obviously bow hunting for a while. Now for a while you were with Under Armour, is that right? You
Yeah,
were kind of part of their hunting team.
yeah, that was I was with them for a long time, probably
Okay.
I don't know, 15 years.
Wow. Yeah. And was that recently that kind of wrapped up? I'm not sure how that was, or if it mutual parting of ways or whatever. But that was like in the last couple of years?
Yeah, a couple of years, and I had a trail shoe with them, and I had a hunting boot, and then
Mm,
I was one of their athletes for the hunting side, but also for the trail running side. So I had a keep hammering shoe with them, which was a great shoe. But a couple of
mm,
years ago, it just seemed like it was just time to maybe try something different.
yeah.
I still hope they're kicking ass, but yeah, I was just ready
Right.
to do something different.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like over the last 10 years, like your profile, I think it helps with Instagram a lot and the different tools we have at our disposal now. I've seen, and obviously you're a frequent guest on Joe Rogan's podcast. I feel like I've seen you come up in that way and gain more of a profile, and it does seem like in the last couple of years is a good time for you to, I don't know, branch out on your own, see what there is on your side of things. But I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's for just a regular guy, it's when I first started writing and doing everything, it's like I used to have to rely on other people for an opportunity to get
Hmm.
out into the public. Like if I was writing for a magazine, the editor had to select, I could write this article, then they had to edit it, then they had to get their approval. Or I hosted TV shows, and as always, the network
Hmm.
was in charge. With social media, I can control my content. I can put out what I want, say it the way I want to say it, and it's given, I only know one way. And now, people talk about, oh, it's good to be authentic, right? It's like, that's the only thing I know. So it's like
Right, right.
being authentic in when you're controlling it, if you do it right, can be of great benefit. So social media has worked great for me. I'm pretty
Yeah.
honest about what I put out there, and it resonates with people.
Yeah, it is interesting with social media because a lot of times it's you see inauthenticity on social media, whereas people trying to be a certain image of themselves or present it to the world. But whenever people do that, I feel like they're always prone to the shifting winds of cultural things or current events,
Yeah.
and then it always ends up backfiring on them because
Yeah.
they don't have a true identity. It's just with whatever is now. But I
Yeah.
feel like you've done a pretty good job of not even threading that needle, just kind of what you said, putting yourself out there. This is who I am. I'm not wavering
Mhm.
from this. My fans love me. My haters hate me. And that's just
Yeah.
how it is.
Yeah. No,
Which,
that's just the way
by
it
the
goes.
way, how do you, I see you engage with people on Instagram, and I'm like, to me, I'm just like, this is, I don't know if I could do it, but
Yeah.
I feel like you kind of revel in it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's how it goes. You can get all these positive and you're going through and you're just like, oh, that's great, great, great. And then the one negative and you're just like, wait a
Hmm.
second, what's this guy saying? And it's like, we're kind of as humans, for whatever reason, drawn to, hey, why don't you like
Yeah.
me? And that's,
Hmm.
um, so it's like, it's just the way it goes. I don't take it personal.
Yeah.
If there's something constructive I could learn from, great. Usually it's not. Usually it's just people, just they're unhappy with their own life, or maybe they're
Right.
trolling, but whatever the case. But yeah, I mean, there's times when I ignore it, times when I engage with it because it's just one of those days where, hey, just not going to let this
Yeah.
go today. And that's, I mean, it's all good. I mean, we can't
Yeah.
take it too serious, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like to be successful on YouTube or Instagram or anywhere like that, you just gotta roll with the punches and be like, there's always gonna be people who want to talk crap, and you just gotta deal with it.
There is, especially nowadays where, there are a lot of unhappy people out there. That's all there is to it. And so when
It's
you're a
super
public
true.
figure and
Hmm.
they have access and they can, it's not normal for society to hear voices from a million people. Normally our community was pretty small, right? Well, now
Yeah.
a million people can weigh in and say what they think about you. And that's not normal. I mean, it's like we've never had to
No.
deal with something like that. So it's
Right.
like it's it's just a weird time. There's some
Yeah.
unhappy people. There's a lot of benefits and great things that happen from it. So you just kind of take the good with the bad.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I imagine like a world where, uh, like imagine you woke up in the morning and you walked into another room of your house and there was 5,000 people in there yelling at each other and you're trying to hear each person's argument, which
Yeah.
is exactly what you do when you open Twitter in the morning
Yeah.
or
Yep. I know. It's crazy.
it's just it's the same thing. You're just reading the comments instead of listening to it, but it's such
Yeah.
a weird, you're right. That shouldn't be normal.
Yeah. And it affects a lot of people, negatively too. And so
Hmm.
I just try not to, it's hard to ignore everything, but man, it's not healthy to, to really,
Yeah.
to let it impact you. So
Right.
whatever.
I feel you. Well, I feel like you have other things going on in your life as well, specifically the new partnership you have with Speedland. So maybe we can talk about that a little bit, how that came to be. Um, I know the founders of Speedland, Dave and Kevin, they're also past Under Armour guys.
Yeah.
They came from there kind of almost in some ways similar paths where they were working for a bigger brand. They couldn't really get done what they wanted to do. And so they
Hmm.
set out on their own to create the best version of what, the vision that they saw for a running shoe or a trail shoe. And that's what they
Yeah.
did. And then, so it kind of seems pretty appropriate that you both came together and worked on this new release that you have, which we'll talk about. So maybe you can talk about how that kind of came to be.
Yeah, I mean, I knew of them and I think worked with them a little bit at Under Armour, but Under Armour is a big company, so I would work with different people, different designers, or my thoughts would go through somebody else and maybe make it to them. So it wasn't
Hmm.
like, working closely just because a big company like Under Armour, that's tough to do. They, unless you're Steph Curry, maybe they probably deal directly with the head guy there, but I didn't. So
Right.
anyway, they were involved. But when they left and started Speedland, and plus had done a lot of other great things in the industry. But started
Hmm.
Speedland, and I left Under Armour, and I was just trying out different shoes and running in, Solomon, Hoka, New Balance, just to try and I just wanted to. I hadn't really had a chance to run in a bunch of different shoes since I'd been with Under Armour so long. So I'm like, I want to see what's out there and see what feels good. And I love
Yeah.
running and I love shoes, so it's perfect match.
Oh, dude,
And
I was looking at I was following you on Instagram during that time, and I saw you trying out all the shoes, the Alpha Fly, the SC Elite, the
all of them,
you were
all of them.
you were going for it, dude.
Yeah, and I was like super pumped because the carbon plate, all that was kind of a new thing, and I hadn't really tried
Hmm.
that yet, so I wanted to see what that was about. I thought this would be just a great time. So, some of the running shoe companies are, I mean, it's bow hunters aren't really their focus. You know what I mean? So some of them,
Right.
there was potential for partnership, but then the bow hunting thing was, uh, I don't know, killing animals just didn't really go with their
Right.
ethos, I guess. And so it just, I understand it's a liberal crowd usually in ultras, but they're very accepting of me, and so I'm very thankful, and I love the ultra community, but
For
some of
sure.
the companies, they're I don't want to say they're woke or they're playing to whatever, but I'm like the opposite of who they're trying to their messaging. You know what I mean? I'm some
Yeah.
redneck
Yeah.
small town bow hunter, and it's like so I understand. I understand. It's but anyway, Speedland and Kevin and Dave, they've known me forever. They not just worked sort of with each other, but they know what I'm about. They know why I bow hunt. They know how running fits into it, and so to them, they're like, yeah, we like what you're about, and you want to try our shoes? And I'm like, yeah, it said, love to try them. And then one thing led to another. I liked the shoes. The first race I ran in them, I got second. My brother ended up
Nice.
beating me, so he's just a better runner. But anyway, I had really good luck running. I was wearing Dylan Bowman's version of Speedland,
Okay, yeah.
the orange
Mhm.
shoe, and it was a great shoe. And so they said, well, do you want to do? They call it a commission with them. It's like a signature series, and I said, yeah. I mean, let's do it. And
Yeah.
so the rest is history.
Yeah, and so I have the shoe with me right here, so I'll hold it up for the camera.
Sweet,
We just got it in literally this morning, so that's why it still has
nice.
the packaging on it. Now,
What what is that?
I ran in.
Is that blood on it?
Go,
What is that?
oh, I don't know. Oh, what is that? Is that just a random, yeah, design
Yeah.
that actually accidentally got on there? Yeah, so let's talk about that actually, because for those listening, you might not be able to see it, but on the YouTube version, you can. It's a light blue upper, or I guess, I don't know, sky blue, baby blue upper with some red details, and then a big old blood splatter right on the midsole. So yeah, let's talk
Yeah.
about that. Obviously, it's a kind of a nod to your other hobby, I guess.
Well, that's what a lot of people think is that, well, is that blood because you're a bow hunter and it's a whatever. But actually, to me, what that means is I tell the story. I used to have a column in a bow hunting magazine called Bleed, and it wasn't
Uh-huh.
about the animal bleeding. It was about, hey, sometimes you got to bleed to achieve your goals. I mean, I've been in
Okay, I like
ultras.
that.
I've hit the dirt a few times, got cut up, had some blisters bleeding, and so sometimes you're going to spill your own blood to achieve your goals.
Mhm.
To me, it's a symbol of sacrifice. So I said
Yeah.
I wanted the blood on there because when I see blood, when my blood hits the ground, it's like I'm sacrificing for something. So that's what the symbol
Hmm.
is. But I understand people because I am a hunter. They might, think it is something about. Is this about murdering animals? No, no, no. It's all internal. It's just a sign for me to a sign of sacrifice. And so
Yeah.
as we know, when we do these long, hard races in the mountains, man, there might be some blood that hits the ground. There's definitely going to be some sacrifice. There's going to be some pain involved to achieve your goals. So that's what I think of
Oh,
when
for
I see
sure.
it.
I got you. Now this isn't your actual blood, right? Like that, like that Lil Nas X shoe that Nike did or
I
something,
know.
or
Yeah, that would have been nice to get a little bit, but no, that's not mine.
okay. All right. I don't know. You could have said it. Maybe next time we can edit that and you can say it was, and they can sell it, mark it up for an extra $100.
Or at least I think didn't
uh,
they have like real blood on that shoe or something like that, like a
yeah,
drop of
like
it?
they actually had, I think, a drop of blood on the tongue or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
that's
ridiculous.
that's maybe that's the next version.
Yeah, there we go. Dave and Kevin,
Yeah.
there's a marketing. Yeah, so what's cool about this shoe is obviously it has the BOA fit system on it, the dual dials where they go in each direction real quickly. Now, Speedland's done this with all their shoes. They have honestly probably the best upper fit of any shoe that I've tried because of those dials. It's really nice because I feel like you can get a great fit on the top of the shoe and then on close to the toes. And if you're in an ultra or something, your feet are swelling up, you're
Mhm.
bombing a downhill or whatever, you can kind of adjust that on the go. Do you feel like that's kind of how you use it as well?
Yeah, that's the biggest advantage to me is, and the old boas, you used to have to, once they were a certain tightness, you used to have to pull them out and start all the way over with the tightness. But
Right.
these will actually, you can, if his shoe's getting a little tight, because as you said, your foot swells later in these ultras, you can just go back one or back two clicks and you're not starting all the way over. Or if you're bombing downhill and you don't want your toes slamming into the front of the shoe, you tighten up that front,
Mhm.
maybe loosen up the back a little bit if you need a little room there. But yeah, huge
Yep.
advantage. Laces just don't give you, they might give you that, but it's going to take 5 or 10 minutes sitting down messing with your laces, right?
Oh yeah.
So the
Right.
boas are such an advantage in that regard. It's a game changer, really.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan, and I feel like I don't know. I was at BOA headquarters out in Denver in August, and so got kind of got behind the scenes of everything, and they're doing some really cool stuff. And I feel like there's so much room for growth even within the industry. I mean, I know they dominate some industries. I'm sure you probably used them before with some of your hunting gear.
Yeah.
I'd imagine they have some of that.
I think the first time I ever used them though was on shoes because I know they've been on ski
Okay.
boots before and things like that.
Right.
Now my release that I put on my wrist to shoot my bow with, it has actually has a boa. So it seemed like
Oh, wow.
my
Okay.
first introduction though was with that trail shoe with Under Armour or maybe my hunting boot with Under Armour. But yeah, that was my first
Yeah.
of learning about them, and it's like I said, it's a game changer. The boa, and people always worry about do they break or are they brittle or do you ever pop the cords or anything like that. I've never had a failure on any of them, so
Oh yeah,
they're durable.
they did like a tension test when we were in the lab on the cords. They're literally impossible to break.
Mm,
Because they did it against a machine and then kind of just uh with like they had us individually crank the dials as hard as we could
mm,
as you know, and and even like the strongest hand person they know, I don't know if that's a thing, they they tested against the machine. It's like twice as much before it would actually tear, and because it's infused with Dyneema, it's pretty much indestructible. It's so it's a
yeah.
really nice system that they got going on. And found out when I was there that I always thought that snowboarding or something was their biggest market segment. Apparently, it's work boots,
Oh,
which I
really?
guess makes,
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
like construction boots. I
Mm.
had no idea,
Yeah, I mean, I could
but
see it. They're just
yeah,
it's a great I don't know, great product. Whoever came up with it, kudos, did a good job. Really helps your
oh for
running shoes
sure,
too. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So, are you a plate guy or not non-plate guy? Because for those listening, it does have a removable. Where is it? Here it is. Carbitex carbon plate that you can put in the shoe. So you basically pop the midsole out, or I'm sorry, the midsole, and then it's like a drop-in midsole. Do it for the video, and then this plate goes in here, and then you drop it back into the shoe. So are you a plate or non-plate guy?
I've been running with no plate, but I come up I've a weight guy. I'm always worried about, hey, if I'm taking 100,000 steps, different
Okay.
ounces total up. So, but then I saw somebody was doing a test or I saw something the other day. They were going to share the difference that they felt between the plate and no plate and maybe the advantages. So I was like, oh, wait, maybe I need to listen or watch this because maybe I'm missing the boat on the advantage of this plate. Because
Yeah.
the shoes when I was testing, running in all those different shoes, I was using the carbon plate, but those
Hmm.
weren't removable. So I was just like would run in
Right.
them, and I didn't really notice. I couldn't tell like, oh, running is so easy now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's hard to gauge. If it's 1% or even a half a percent, I guess that's an advantage. But I always wanted to know. I think I asked Dave or Kevin this when they did the podcast. It's like, is there a calculation that like yes this weight is going to result in this but the plate is going to offset it by this much? There's got to be there's some smart math people out there. Show me the data on what this is actually doing given the weight and the if does it
Yeah.
propel me better, whatever. So I haven't seen that and I haven't tested it myself. I've just been like no plate because it's extra weight.
All right, I feel it. Yeah, I can't remember. Like, I don't feel like the plate in Speedland is as aggressive as of a feeling as you'll say some of the like road racing shoes out there, which makes sense.
Yeah,
It's if that were the case, it would be a highly unstable trail shoe.
right.
If it had a
I
softer foam in it.
what I wanted was I like cushion because my body's, I'm old. I've been doing this a while now. So I can't do the zero drop or the,
Yeah.
I just can't do it. It's just my body's it's like it hurts. So I like that there's some good cushion there. They're wide. So you don't have I used to run in fat tires with Under Armour and the
Right.
first versions were pretty tippy, right? They're kind of high. So I like the
Yep. Yep.
cushion, but they're pretty tippy. And I would,
Hmm.
roll my ankle sometimes. So the Speedlands are that same, it gives me the cushion that I want, but it's also wide. I haven't
Yeah.
accidentally just popped my ankle over it at all. And that's to me, that's what you want on a trail shoe.
Oh, definitely. I have horrible ankles. I rolled it like last week, and and this shoe is great because of that. Where you're talking about that wide base, and when you combine that with the upper lockdown, that really holds the ankle in well. It's probably one of the more stable trail shoes out there, I'd say.
I think so. Yeah, they did a good job with that, and it's durable too. I mean, that's one thing is like if you think about weight, because it's fairly light for a good trail shoe. So
Oh yeah.
durability, a wide base, and light. It's like, man, what else is there? And they look cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. Like people are loving this shoe. Like this, it seems like the response has been really great.
Yeah, what I've been seeing has been, and people, they're running in it saying it's the best shoe they've ever run in. So, you
Hmm.
know, it's checking all the boxes so far.
Yeah. So, do you have any races on the schedule coming up? Are you still doing like are you into ultras or where are you at right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's a local one here I usually do. It's called a Frozen Trail Ultra, but it's in December, usually after hunting season because I've been in the mountains and it's hard and a lot of hiking, a lot of weight and packing
Hmm.
meat and all that, but it's not running shape. So
Yeah.
right now I'm just done with September's my busy month for hunting, so I'm just wrapping
Okay.
that up, and now I'm just getting back on the mountain every day and just getting some more miles in. But yeah, I either a big adventure. I like, the show I've been doing here. I've been doing a lift run shoot where I have athletes come in and we train together,
Yeah.
lift
Yeah.
weights, run, and then shoot bows. So that's kept me in pretty good shape, and that's starting back up too. So between adventure with the guests, going into the mountains around here, or if I can get together with Courtney and go do some big run in Colorado,
Yeah.
that usually gets me to race season, and then I'll figure out what big ultras I'll do.
Nice. Cool. Man, let's talk. Can we talk about Courtney's performances this summer? Because like I feel like my mind's still blown, and I just can't
Yeah.
even. It's on a whole different level that I still can't even wrap my head around it. Like, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean it's she's amazing, and what's a little bit what's cool and also irritating is like you'll ask her, "Hey, God, can you believe it? You crushed whatever, set the course record at Hard Rock," and she'll be like, "Oh well, but I heard you had a good 10K the other, it's like you broke 40 or something." It's just like she'll turn
Right.
it
Right.
around and like won't even
Yeah.
talk about her being the greatest to ever do this. She'll somehow want to talk about your 10K.
Yeah.
It's funny.
We did a podcast with her once, and we were out in Colorado Springs and kind of did a shakeout run, trail run type thing with some people. And I'm not exaggerating when I say she might be the nicest human on earth.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
Definitely. No,
it's just crazy.
it's incredible too. And so my guest on the show, I mean, if people ask who's been your favorite, obviously Courtney's one of them, but what I like
Hmm.
specifically, I like these ultra girls. Like I've had Kat Bradley
Oh,
and Sally on, and then Courtney. And it's like,
Sally. Yeah.
yes, Sally just won Moab. And what
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like about the women specifically is men, we have egos, we're competitive, it's just part of being a man sometimes, right?
Hmm.
But these
Hmm.
women, they come in, they don't have the ego. They're competitive, but you don't see it. Like a man, you can tell it's like, oh, this guy's trying to crush me and I'm trying to crush him. But they're the biggest badasses ever. So it's like this weird dichotomy of sweet,
Yeah.
cool people, chill because they're ultra girls, but then also savages. It's like so
Oh,
weird
yeah.
how they can cover both ends of that spectrum, but I just love it.
They really are like walking contradictions. Like on the
Yeah.
surface, you would never pick that up. And then it is funny though. I was watching Sally's, not the 200 miler, the Tahoe 200 documentary.
Yeah. Hmm.
And there was one point when she was, I think, in third place. And she was like, it was a pretty big suffer fest for her at that
Yeah.
race.
Yeah.
And
It seemed like it.
because I think she was like real sick or something with some weird sickness. And
Yeah.
I remember at one point it's like the middle of the night. She's like at half an hour behind, and And she was like, I'm going to get her. And I was like, damn, dude, like I would
I
not want to
know.
be in that
I
situation.
know. I mean,
Oh
so much
man.
heart. Those girls are so freaking tough. And then Courtney is just like taking that. I can't even imagine how deep she's had to dig to get. I know at UTMB she said something like, I think the last 40 miles were, I mean, something about she didn't know if she could run, or it's like her body, she didn't know what her legs could do for 40 freaking miles. She's,
Right, right,
trying to take one step at a time. It's not like the last mile I was hurting and had to 40 miles
right.
and also holding off the best runners in the world. It's not like us trying to finish a training run and having to dig deep. It's like she's hurting
Yeah.
because that's her third big 100 of the summer. And then also holding off, I think it was maybe Katie at that time,
Hmm.
or whoever it was an
Yeah.
incredible runner in their own right. So
Yeah.
holding off the best in the world after being so fatigued is, uh, I don't think anybody can comprehend what that's like.
No. And yeah, and it's like, and even when you ask her, it's not really, it's just almost internal. Like, which I guess brings me to my next question. Do you feel like there's certain aspects, maybe that Courtney has, that mindset, where that's just a thing that you're actually born with that you can't train for in certain people? Or do you think you can train for to a certain extent, but then at some point that's just how you're hardwired?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know if you can develop it because I always think back to her first 100 where she dropped. Everybody knows that story. I think
Hmm.
she dropped at
Hmm.
60. So if
Yeah.
she had it there, it didn't show itself in that race,
Right.
So
Right.
did she have it and didn't know how to tap into it, or did she develop it after that? Or did she learn more about herself and then was able to access it? I don't know. I don't know how it works, but
Mm.
I know her ability to embrace pain is her key to success, because most
Hmm. Yeah.
people, it starts to hurt, they're looking for a way out. They're not
Yeah.
looking for a way to embrace it. So it's
Yeah.
I'm not sure how it works, but whatever she's got, it works for what she's doing now for sure.
Yeah. How do you feel like that's been in your own life, like in your own training? Like what's your mindset when you encounter difficulties, you don't want to get out of bed, or, just kind of general, I don't know. How do you overcome those either periods of pain or just periods of, I don't know, not wanting to do something?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's easy because I feel like if I don't outwork other people, I'm just an
Hmm.
average guy. So the only thing
Yeah.
I have is I'll suffer more. And, that all sounds good. It's, words are easy to say.
Yeah.
When you're in the suffering, that's when it's tested, right? And so there's days where maybe I'm not as tough as I want to be, but there's times where I've been not to Courtney's level, but like embraced it, and it's just like it worked.
Hmm.
And is I know I've when I did my first 200, there's times where I didn't feel like I could take a step, and then towards the end of the race, I was running like a 7 minute mile, and so
Yeah.
there's times when I'm proving to myself that okay, you got what it takes. The thing is, it's like you have to prove that almost every time. It's like what you did before doesn't matter this next time. So it's like
Hmm.
answering the bell is freaking hard. So that's why I have
Yeah.
so much respect for somebody like Courtney or like Sally. Sally just did her fourth 200 of the summer. And
Yeah.
a lot of those miles were painful miles because your body can only take so much. So I have so much
Hmm.
respect for people who can keep answering that bell when they know what's at stake. They know how bad it hurts. They know what regular human reaction is when it hurts you slow down or stop and take care of yourself, self-preservation. And to be able to push past that is such a talent. And I got so much respect for them for being able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like watching their performances, especially for some reason, Sally and Courtney always stand out to me in my own mind, like athletes who I feel like exemplify that unwavering attitude to just keep going past against all odds and past everything else.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's weird too because Sally, with her childhood and all she went through, you could see
mhm,
how she'd be pretty calloused, right? I
for
mean, she's
sure.
been through
Yeah.
so much in life, and she realizes that running, it's pain, but it's not pain like your mom dying, you know?
Yeah.
So you could see where, or pain of a hard childhood like she had to endure every day. So I could see that with Courtney. It's like, man, where did that come from?
I know,
That's
right?
just her
Yeah.
being a dog, you know, just like
Yeah.
I love this. I love the suffering. And it's like you look at her childhood seemed good. Her mom and dad are so supportive of her, you know, even now. Good coaching. I think she had brothers that competitive with.
Yeah.
And so it seemed like all like healthy, normal, and then
I
somehow
know.
produced just this fighter, greater than any other fighter in this arena of ultra running. It's like doesn't make sense.
I think about that all the time. Like, I wonder, because you see so many examples of it, not just in running, but in other sports as well, where, like, a good example is David Goggins. Again, horrible childhood,
Mhm.
just background. You would never, I mean, honestly, you would never want to grow up that way. And he overcame it all, is who he is today. And part of you was like, is this, like, obviously the beginning part was terrible, worked out in the end. Is this something that's necessary to have, like, to be great? But then you see, and in the same way in sports, like, you see Tiger Woods, whose dad, from the from the time he could walk, was put a golf club in his hand, drilled it into him. Same with like Andre Agassi and athletes like that. And then they became the greatest at their sport. But then you have people like, say, Roger Federer, who started later in life, or Kobe Bryant, who also had great families and everything, and ended up becoming the best. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like I wish there was some way to figure out the secret formula, but it just seems like in some ways it is built into you. Maybe it's a sum of a bunch of other events in their life that kind of come together and create that. I don't know, but
It it must be. I mean, if there's a way to explain it, I don't know. I don't know if there'll ever be a way to explain what it takes to be the best at something, right? Because there's different
yeah.
routes to it, and everybody's different. And yeah, I mean, when
Well,
we talk about, oh, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, in your own personal life, do you feel like there's something that you can point to that you can be like, this was what made me how I am?
Um, Man, I don't know. I mean, it's, you know, my life has been, you know, it was hard when I was a kid for sure. And so got, maybe that hardened me. I think it did harden me. And,
Hmm.
but again, that only does so much because now I'm an adult. My life isn't hard. You know, I mean, it's, and then it's, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to explain it.
Yeah.
There comes a time when you prove to yourself, like for me, you prove to yourself, okay, I can be tough, I can work hard, and then you start to get results from that. You start to get maybe as a young man, you get positive feedback from that. So then you're like, oh, so the more of this I do, the
Hmm.
more opportunities I get, the more acceptance I get. So you start doing more and more and more. And then all of a sudden, then that takes on its own life. And then you're looking for the next big
Hmm.
challenge. But it's just like that
Yeah.
critical time where you're like, okay, I did this, and either I got accepted or I didn't, and then you go one way or you go
Yeah.
the other. For me, luckily, it turned into a positive, and I was able to say, okay, the more I do this, the greater the reward is. So I just sacrificed more and got a bigger reward, and then that's kind of where it's went since then. But again,
Yeah.
it's that can all stop any day. You know, you can rest on your laurels. You can say, I did enough today. Maybe I deserve a that can every day you have to make that decision. So every day my
Hmm.
decision is I don't care what I did yesterday. I got to get the work in today. And that's just something everybody has to decide.
Do you have a fear that if you, like, do you have a specific fear, like, if you stopped working, what would happen?
If I stopped working, I'd just be like anybody else. So I wouldn't really stand out for any reason. And
Yeah.
and now it's not like that I'm worried about being like anybody else, but who I am is what I do. And so
Hmm.
I don't even I know I'm going to run the mountain today. I know I'm going to do everything. It's not even up for debate. This is just
Hmm.
what I do. So it's
Yeah.
once you get to that point, it's just like this is it. It's not really a decision anymore. But it's like if you can make it a habit, that's the key part where you're like making this daily dedication to your craft or whatever you do. Just your habit, like putting on your shoes every day and drinking coffee
Hmm.
every day. You put in work every day. That's just how it goes.
How did you do that? How did you implement those habits within your own life?
I just I just didn't like feeling like I wasn't putting in work. I didn't want to be an average person. I like had these big goals, and so I wanted to be an athlete at first. I played all the sports in high school. I wanted to play college football. I tried. I wasn't good enough. So it was just like how I don't want to be. I saw everybody around me, and I lived in a small town, and
Hmm.
nothing against small towns, but a lot of people just had their job. They came back every day, maybe drank beer,
Yeah.
got through the night, went to work the next day, and the weekends were just like, shit, I got to go to work Monday. I hate what I do, but this is life. And I saw that, and I was like, man,
Yeah.
I don't want that. I want
Hmm.
more than that. And so it was just
Yeah.
like, how can I make something more of my life? And that's where the bow hunting and everything else is kind of fell into place. And trying to be a writer, I always wanted to be a writer. I love sharing my stories with words. And so that, led into books, but it was just a fear of being average.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I will say I grew up same kind of way. I grew up in a small town out in the country, and my family grew up. I grew up hunting, kind of just out in the, I don't know, exploring, doing whatever when I was a kid. I mean, I live in the city now, but I kind of felt the same way. Growing up, just there's a lot. My dad was a factory worker for 40 years, and nothing wrong with that. Of course, it's great. It's awesome to provide
Mm-hmm.
for our family, but I always felt same in kind of the same way. Just like this, I don't, and maybe that's part of the innate thing you're born with. Is just like a desire to. I just feel like there's more almost. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
and sometimes that just keeps you going. That search to be different, and not in a, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's just you have a you have a gift, you have something to give to the world, like whether with your writing and bow hunting, and to be able to go out to it's in some ways your responsibility to take that um beyond just wherever you are. It's a small town or wherever, but to take it as far as you can go with it. I feel like.
Yeah, they say a man's greatest regret is untapped potential. If you're on your
Hmm.
deathbed and just, that there's been a lot of
For
analogies
sure.
about that. Goggins talks about you meet the man who you're supposed to be when meet God or whatever. And they said, well,
Hmm.
here's what you could have done and here's what you did. So obviously, untapped potential is a great regret to people, but also on that, you kind of mentioned it too, is, we do need people working at warehouses and factories and and that's okay. If they're
Yeah.
happy, great, because
Yeah.
that's their life. And we do need people playing key roles in that. Not everybody can be chasing their dreams and making this huge impact on the whole world. It's just not going to happen, and that's not their goal, and that's fine. But for
Hmm.
some people who feel like I have more to offer, then yeah, it's just like you can never be truly satisfied. If I would have not taken, bet on myself or done all this, I would be drinking beer every night. Nobody would know who I was. I would be just existing, and
Yeah.
that's just the way it'd go. I wouldn't be as happy and fulfilled as I am now, even though I don't feel happy and fulfilled every day. I feel like, oh, I got more work to do, but it would be much worse if I was like, you know, in just living, just existing, as I said.
Yeah, definitely. Do you feel like as you're getting older, I don't know, I mean, I'm only 41, but even I feel like definitely the last year or so, you start, I feel like at this age, you start looking forward instead of feeling like, I feel like the inevitability of death or just what's ahead is more present than when you're in your 20s or 30s and feel like you're invincible and will live forever. Um, do you feel like as you're getting older, um, that you think about that more, or are you like 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 content right where you are right now?
I really don't. I mean, I don't think about getting old or dying or anything like that. I think about today pretty much.
Hmm.
Today I'm just going to give what I got to today. I'm not good at planning. When I fly somewhere, it's usually I don't buy my plane ticket until like a few days before. It's like I'm always like I'm not very good. Even my retirement. So I quit my job, last year and started doing this full time. And it's like
Uh-huh.
I haven't even I just don't think about retirement money. I just like I don't know. I'm like,
Well, like, are
and
you
that's
actually
probably
gonna retire though? I feel like you're
no, I
never
won't
gonna
retire.
retire.
No, but I worked at that company for 26 years, so I have money, and probably should do something with it in there. But I just don't. I don't know. It's just like
Yeah.
money doesn't motivate me. What motivates me
Mm.
is just what am I going to do today? And I just, plan, if I could plan a big adventure or go on a hunt or do something with cool people, like, like I said, these guests that come in, that's pretty much what I
Hmm.
focus on. So I don't think too much beyond that, really.
Yeah. And how do you I guess I looked up your age today because wasn't sure how old you were, so I looked up your age before this interview, and I was actually surprised. I was like, "Damn, I didn't realize." I thought you were
I'm
like, I
old
don't
as
know, mid.
hell.
I thought you were like mid 40s,
I
because you're in
was like
crazy
10 years
good.
ago.
You're, but you're in crazy good shape, and I see all the stuff you do on a daily basis with the lift, run, shoot, or just carrying stones up Mount Pisgah or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's impressive to me. And do you? For our listeners, our age range of our listeners is right around like this, age 40 to 55. So like what if you have any tips, like what's some good advice for keeping that, you know, that edge or just staying in shape and being like the best version of yourself as you get older?
Well, I mean, being active is the number one thing. So, I mean, whether I'm
Hmm.
hurt or banged up or whatever, I'll just go slower. I'm always going to get out there. If I can't run, I'll walk, so I'm out every single day doing something. I think that's, your body gives what you ask of it. And once we,
Yeah.
we stopped asking of our body, it's just going to, okay, this is what we need to do today. Not much. So this is what you get.
I
So
mean,
I think just,
I,
go
oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no. I think it's just moving. Moving is key, but then also I
Yeah.
don't drink. I don't, eat a
Mm.
bunch of sugar. I eat a pretty clean diet. I'm always eating wild game meat because that's what I do. I hunt deer and elk and bear. So that's what
Right.
I eat every day. So I think it's a combination of, obviously take vitamins, get my blood tested at the doctor, do everything I can, but generally it's just not sabotaging yourself with
Hmm.
sugars, bunch of processed shit, alcohol, and then moving.
Hmm.
That's it. I mean, if
Yeah.
everybody did that, they'd be a lot better off.
That's the thing. I feel like with all the medications and everything on the market today, I'm like, obviously nobody's making money if you recommend just say
Yeah, healthy
live
living.
like
Yeah,
live healthily. You don't have to take any drugs. But I feel like that is such a key is especially the moving part. I mean my grandma, she's like 83 and she's still great, but she just cannot sit still. She's either cooking or gardening or doing, she's always out and about and she's still in great
hmm,
health. And even my grandpa, who was a lifetime smoker and recently died of COPD, he was a farmer, always out in the farm, working hard, like constantly active and still lived to be 84, even with it living a bad life in that way. But I feel like moving is just like a key thing that should be the number one thing when you walk into a doctor's office or taught in
yeah,
school. Like,
yeah,
move, be active. It doesn't have to, you don't have to go out for be out of breath on a sprint a mile or 3 miles at a time. Just
right.
get out there and just do something. I feel like it's such a key.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's like just getting that fresh air. Some people are in this recycled air every day in their office or in their house or
Hmm.
whatever. Just getting that fresh air out there, getting some sun on your face and being and
Yeah.
moving, God, it's just night and day different.
Yeah. I mean, it's still shocking to me, and hope we don't make this mistake again if it ever happens. But how in the beginning of COVID, it was like the one thing that you should be doing, which is going outside, getting fresh air, moving around. Instead, they're just telling everybody to stay indoors the entire time, which is the complete opposite of what should have been going on.
Yeah.
Crazy.
No, yeah, I know. I mean, I had COVID a couple times, obviously, like probably everybody did, but I never
Right.
missed a day. I never ran less than 10 miles, no matter what. I mean, COVID, no
Yeah.
COVID, and it's just like it never really affected me. And I'm
Hmm.
not saying that it wasn't serious for some people, but man,
Right.
just getting out and being outside and a healthy diet, COVID
Yeah.
was nothing.
Definitely. Yeah. I feel like that was I feel like yeah, the being active and all that is definitely just huge part of it. Um,
Mhm.
okay, I want to be aware of your time, so I don't want to hold you up too long. But I did want to ask you in regards to you brought this up earlier, kind of about brands, maybe hesitant to work with you because you're a hunter or bow hunter and kind of represent that, which is I still struggle. Like I get it if you're vegan or against killing animals, like I can understand why you would not like it. But for the majority of people, that's not the case. And I'm struggling to understand sometimes the disconnect with hunters because I feel like, especially the way you represent it, is very honorable to the animal and to nature. And it's a way in which you're getting your food in the most natural way possible, not
Mhm.
through some killing factory.
Right.
And I'm always interested in like this disconnect between hunters and just normal, I don't know, the rest of society. And I feel like has widened over the last 20 or 30 years. And I didn't know if you had any like insight into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rogan is helping. He's got such a big platform, and he's, obviously pro hunting because, he's been bow hunting now for
Hmm.
since 2014. I took him on his first bear hunt in 2014. That was his first bow hunt ever. Um,
Man, that dude loves to
so,
talk about bear. He loves to talk about bear meat. I will say.
and elk meat, yeah, yeah. He just
Yeah,
killed a bull yesterday.
I saw
Um,
that. I saw that.
Yeah, so he's been a great advocate for the hunting lifestyle and educating because he reaches so many people. So that's really
Hmm.
helped. But the bottom line is 96 or 90%, 97% of Americans eat meat. They eat
Right.
just under 300 pounds of meat a year. And what's crazy about it is, so that's obviously most people, and that's a lot of meat, right? So,
Oh yeah.
um, who's killing those animals? I mean, basically everybody's paying somebody to do their killing for them. You go to the grocery store, you're trading money for somebody did that killing for you and package it, and you can take it home. You don't have to look at the animal dying. You don't have to look. You don't have to think about the death. You don't have to do anything. You can just kind of block it out. That's not
Hmm.
really honest. You're not being honest about where your meat comes from. So
Yeah.
hunters, the way I look at it is hunters, you know, yes, I kill. No, I don't like killing, but there's blood on my hands and I'm responsible for the animal dying. I'm
Hmm.
responsible for providing for my family. And I'll do the killing so they don't have to. And that's just the way it goes. It's
Yeah.
not like I get off on it or enjoy it. I hate seeing animals die, but I'm a hunter
Hmm.
and that's part of the deal. And if I'm going to eat, like the average American, 300 pounds of meat a year, it's got to come from somewhere. I'd rather it come from
Right.
a wild animal who lived its entire life free than some cow who lived in a farmyard for, they kill cows at 18 months. So
Yeah.
the cows get bred. Once they can wean the calves off its mother, that's a big ordeal. You got the mother bellowing, the calf bellowing. It's like traumatic. And then in 18 months, that calf is dead. And
Yeah.
that's the life of cattle. That's just the way it goes. Um,
Hmm.
an animal I kill, like a bull I would kill, would be 10 years old, no interaction with humans, living wild and free for 10 years. And then I make a perfect shot, a merciful death. It's dead in seconds. And that's what's
Hmm.
sustaining me. And a hunter, you get that meat off that animal, that's like as precious as gold because we work so
Yeah.
hard. We have so much value in its life that it gave for us to prosper and survive. Whereas the average American throws away 40% of their food. 40% of what they buy and goes on their plate goes in the garbage. So
Yeah.
a cow's life, it died, gave it for you to survive that 300 pounds, and 40% of that is going in the garbage. So
Yeah.
tell me what type of lifestyle should be more accepted? It seems like the hunter who's doing it themselves, who's treating every ounce
Right.
as precious as gold, as opposed to the wasteful, typical American. And
Hmm.
I'm not saying that, that's bad or good. I'm just saying, like, why would we be ostracized as hunters, And so I
Right.
had some of these running companies, which running companies are they're more liberal, I understand, but I thought being a liberal would meant being accepting.
Right. Yeah,
So
that's like the weird thing too, is because great for the environment if you think about it.
yeah.
It's great for the life of the animal instead of being, like you said, raised in a factory farm.
Mhm.
It's also hunters and the licensing fees go to that's what keeps
Habitat conservation.
habitats, yeah,
Yep.
conservation, national
Yep.
parks and state parks or whatever running. Yeah, so it's always been interesting. I think there's just this misconceptions, like people think of like the trophy hunters kind of just
Yeah.
killing for fun, which is really not the case in almost all situations, I think. But I think there's just maybe
Well,
that misconception.
it's trophy hunter's a easy term to throw out there. Like, and people say, "Oh, are you a trophy hunter? Or you me?" I'm both. I mean,
Both, yeah,
if
right.
you look around here, I got there's plenty of trophies here, but every
Right,
ounce
right.
of the meat of all these kills made it to my freezer
Yeah.
and to my table, or I gave meat to people who didn't have meat's
Hmm.
expensive, right? So hadn't tasted wild
Yeah.
game meat or needed meat, or when COVID hit, meat at the stores was running low because people thought, oh,
Yeah.
this is the apocalypse, right? So they bought all the meat. So I supplied a lot of families with meat during that time. So yeah, I got the trophies up. I got trophies all over here,
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean I'm not a meat hunter also. You can be both.
Yeah.
They're not mutually exclusive. So
Right,
people
right, right.
they just like to lump people in one category just so they can take care of
Yeah.
them and eliminate them for this reason.
Hmm.
But it's
Hmm.
not usually as clean
Yeah,
as that.
that seems to be how people operate these
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, originally when we were trying to schedule this podcast, I was like, man, that'd be sick if Cam could come out here. I was like looking up the hunting, the archery rules for Druid Hill Park in Baltimore, which is obviously I knew it wasn't legit, but
Yeah.
I did see but the place is overrun with white-tailed deer, and I'm like, how great would it be if they just had a day where they set aside, close the park, had some hunters come in,
Yeah.
um, you took control of the population of deer in the park, and then
Yeah.
gave it to a local food bank or whatever.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
and I do give meat to the food like we call it the Eugene Mission here because those
mhm,
food banks they don't get protein. You know what I mean? They if
right,
they can get protein,
yeah,
they can turn that into stew, spaghetti, tacos. They just never get protein. So the homeless guys are just living off of who knows what, and nothing goes as far
yeah,
as protein. So it's like they
hmm,
love getting protein. It would I think I've run there before in Baltimore. I went back to visit Under Armour. I ran in that park, I believe. Isn't it a big
yeah,
park? You can run like miles,
yeah,
right?
yeah. It's a huge park. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I know it'd be homeless shelters definitely need meat, so it's a great idea.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll have to get the grease the wheel, see what happens.
Yeah, do it.
All right. So a couple more quick questions, and then we'll get you out of here. Speaking of hunting, I've always wondered what's the longest distance you've ever had to haul out, like a field dressed bull elk, like when out of the woods. What's the longest distance on your back that you had to do that?
12 miles. So 12 miles, and to do that, like you can't take a bull all in one pack, right? So you're going to have about
Yeah.
300 pounds of meat. So it's how much can you pack for 12 miles? You go back in empty, you load up again, you go back out. So it's 12, 12, 12, 12, 12.
Oh,
I mean, it
dang.
adds up, right? So it's that's why you got to be in shape if you're hunting that deep. Now if I hunt that deep at that time I didn't have a lot of money for horse packers or anything like that. So we bought llamas, we used llamas, I had buddies help. Now I can hire a horse packer, but still you got to figure out a way to get 300 pounds of meat out.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it's a big deal.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Last one. Head to head. And if you did a 100-mile race right now, you're wearing Speedland, Pisgahs, PGH. Head to head in a 100-mile race, who wins, you or David Goggins?
Oh God, he's tough. You know,
He doesn't have the Speedlands. He's wearing something. He's wearing like a Brooks or something.
yeah, I don't know if it matters for him. He's freaking
Yeah,
tough.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I think I might be faster than him, like in a marathon, because I think his best marathon is I think a little over 3 hours, or maybe
hmm
right at three. So I've run
okay,
a faster marathon, but I've also run an ultra with him, and I know that ultras are mostly about how deep can you dig, and
yeah,
he switch that or flips that switch, goes from David Goggins to just Goggins, the Goggins mode, and I've seen it firsthand. And so he beat me in we did this frozen trail. He beat me by 15 minutes, and it was a 50K. So I don't know. I mean, I would I'd have a hard time beating him probably if he was in shape, but
yeah.
you never know. Never know.
All
It'd be
right, all
fun.
right. We'll leave it.
I'd love to do it.
All right, we'll leave it a toss up. Maybe it'll be a. Maybe he'll just show up at your doorstep one day and tell you to get the hell out of bed. We're running 100.
I know we've
Um,
run together plenty of times, and it's like it's always a test. So I mean, I love training with him because I know it's going to be a memorable day. But all
yeah,
the respect in the world, I think. I mean, he got second in Moab. I never got second in Moab. So the longer it gets, I
fair.
think that the tougher he gets.
Yeah, definitely. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on talking. I'm excited to see how your Speedland model does, your Speedland commission does. It's a great looking shoe, great performing shoe. So, yeah, I'm pretty stoked for you guys to partner together and see what happens.
Thank you, Robbie. I appreciate the discussion today. Is great
Yeah.
talking to you.
All right. Take care, bud.